Hey y'all, Billy from Perma Pastures Farm. You gotta love a February 1st when you can be out here in a t-shirt digging it. And being perfectly fine too. I mentioned it before, I think in one of the previous videos not long ago, where that's one beautiful thing about this altitude, and we're gonna cover a lot of that today, and that is microclimates. But the beauty about these microclimates is that it opens up or limits a tremendous amount of opportunity. Okay, now let's think about it. February 1st, it's about 4 o'clock, somewhere thereabout, and I'm in a t-shirt right here, right? You dig? I'm on the south-facing slope. That's what all this property is. Every bit of it is south-facing. Wonderful in so many different ways. But if you look around, at least in this holler where we live, you'll find out the majority of the homes around here are situated on south-facing slopes. Why? Because in winter, you're still getting the benefit of sunlight when others on that north side slope, you see that over there? That's a north-facing slope, y'all. You see what you see down at, well, I don't know that you can see it on that camera so much, but there's snow on every north-facing slope. So those are things when you consider a design for your property or where I want to put this or where I want to put that, does it make sense based on the microclimate? Because like I said, right here on the top of this, well, we're nowhere near the top of this mountain. Let's say situated partially up this mountain. I guarantee it's t-shirt weathered up here. But if I go down to where the chickens are at the bottom, I'm gonna need a jacket. I'm gonna need something. That's how much the temperature changes within these microclimates. Now, that's another thing. When you live in the mountains like this, not everybody lives in mountains or, has a terrain that has this much topography in terms of elevation, because we're looking at almost 1,000 feet from the bottom to the top. That's quite a rise. And remember, folks, for every 1,000 feet you elevate, you move a latitude. So ask yourself, okay, let's say down there I'm in zone, let's say 6B. Maybe up there I'm in 6A, perhaps even zone 5. Those are things to consider when you're thinking about where you're going to plant things, where you're going to put things, and how they're situated. Let's go back around the house. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, y'all, speaking about microclimates, okay, look at this. Notwithstanding this little slipper, the pigs, a child's slipper or whatever the pigs dug up out of there, I threw it down to collect it. I'll come back for that later. Okay, microclimates, that's what we're talking about. All these trees I situated in here, yes, they are here. We're doing a certain amount of experimentation concerning microclimates and where we can put these trees based. We're on the other side of my house, y'all. And dig this, up there, pigs up this mountain. That's a whole nother video unto itself. But these pigs are up here sunbathing. Meanwhile, down here, I almost need a jacket. And we're literally just feet away from one another. I mean, not that I could throw a piece of bread and hit them, right? So think about those microclimates. Would it make sense to have mushroom logs up there where I'm going to get all that exposure? Or does it make sense to have them right here? These are inoculated. Okay, William did these last year. But the point being is that there's even mistakes that we made regarding these as far as mushroom inoculation, where we thought it would have enough shade and it didn't. Those are things you want to consider, y'all. Don't try to inoculate mushrooms and put them in a place where they're going to be in direct sunlight. These pigs, they dig it. It was funny. If we'd have come out here and filmed this a little bit earlier, you would have seen all of them posted up on the side of this thing, on the side of this mountain, just enjoying the sunlight. How's that, huh? Anyway, let's go down here and talk some more about microclimates and where you might put things. Because truthfully, folks, it doesn't have to be in terms of topography, in terms of elevation. It doesn't have to just be that, or latitude. It could also mean that certain features create certain microclimates. Let's go over here, I'll give you an example. All right, y'all, forgive all the construction in the background. We're slowly working on the Earthship, at least prepping for it. Ain't that right, milk boy? Anyway, this here is this little frog pond, which, by the way, if you were to look closely enough, you see this guy's paw prints all over this thing. Okay, it's holding water better than it did. We got a few more things to make it right, but we're talking about microclimates, right? When you have a body of water, and it goes a long way in explaining how, it depends on how big that body of water is, depending on some of the microclimates you get from it. If you ever by a river, what do you notice? You ever notice that when that river's going by, the temperature there is distinctly different from any other place around it? You ever feel that? Water has what's called a high specific heat, more than anything else that we know of, at least that I know of, meaning that it takes more energy to move the needle on the temperature of water. It takes more energy to do that than just about any other substance, meaning that when it holds energy in the form of heat or anything else, it tends to want to hang on to it. It takes a lot of energy to change the temperature of water. So you got the sun coming in this way, beating on this water. Is there some species on the other side, on the north side? This is north basically that way. Is there a species of, let's say, fruit tree that I could put on that north side that might benefit even at this altitude? There just might be, and in the future you might just see that. So consider those microclimates in places like that where you can do extraordinary things in places you didn't think were possible. But right now, just stick to the basics. But folks, this is what we're getting to in terms of microclimates. You can do so much. Okay, you gonna follow me over here, buddy, or you just gonna tramp right through it? Usually he's running right through the water, y'all. But there's even microclimates. I remember Danny and Wanda down at Deep South, they were talking about the microclimates within their greenhouse. Think about the microclimates that happen, and we do this, we employ this an awful lot. And as spring and fall, or spring and summer roll around, we'll go through it in a great amount of detail. And that's concerning the microclimates that are created within, let's say, a food forest system or within an orchard. Think about it. Down there, and like I said, this isn't the time of year to really demonstrate it fully, but I'm hoping this time of year where the sun's kind of still low in the sky, that you ought to be asking yourself, where are these microclimates? Where's the sun going to be in dead of summer? Where's my shade going to be? Where am I going to have frost pockets? That's another thing to consider. But within these systems, whenever we put in a tree, we also put a guild of things around that tree that are either shaded by it or in full sun, depending on how it's situated around that tree. And we're going to teach you more about how we do that and how we've learned so much about doing that very thing within our food forest system and also within our orchard. Let's say, for example, you have a berry, like let's say a black currant, that is not going to dig any full sun here in the mountains, okay? So maybe I want to situate that on the north side. Maybe it needs to be shaded by an autumn olive. I know some people don't like those, but we do. So maybe we want to situate it behind something where it's going to do well. Okay, blueberries in this area. Ours in Texas, they didn't do great. They did not like direct sun, depending on the variety you had. But others really prospered in direct sunlight. So guess what? We put them on the south side or catty corner of our fruit trees down there. There's so many different things. Now, other things couldn't care less, like our comfrey. It doesn't care where it's situated, which, by the way, if you need some, check out the website. We got it. World's Best Deer Repellent. We got that too. All those things, there are things you want to know the proclivities and concerns about every type of plant and even animal, so you know where to put them best. Okay, out in the open field out here, you ought to be asking yourself, when you have ruminants or pigs, or like up here, these pigs are essentially in a glen. They have open sunlight if they want it. They also have shade should they need it. They also have shelter, which, by the way, the system we have now, they seem to make they prefer making a shelter over the ones we provide for them. Point being is that make sure that you put your animals, let's say in the dead of summer, do you have any shade out there for them? Because honestly, I can take you all up and down this road where I'm seeing cows out there dying, even sheep, because there is no, depending on where they're situated, there is no shade whatsoever. That's a microclimate. A shade, even one you provide, is a microclimate. Those are all the things we got to be considering these days, y'all. Even a greenhouse, a terrarium effect, if you want to call it that, it's creating a microclimate. It's different from this climate that's outside as soon as you walk out the door. Think about all those things. Maybe your greenhouse isn't conducive for the right microclimate for the plants. Maybe you need a shade cloth. You dig? There's all these things concerning microclimates that you have to consider. Our Hugel mound down there. If you want to go back and check that out, we did a little bit on it. But in our Hugel mound, let's go down there and talk about the microclimates that are created there. All right, y'all, here we are down at the Hugel mound. We have a video on that if you want to check out how we did it and took wood that couldn't be used for anything else, and that's what's in there. Okay, just so you get some understanding, that way is north, and the sun's not far from setting right now. It's heading to the west. I was going to say a messed up joke, but anyway, yeah, the sun actually sets that way. Okay, so ask yourself, how many microclimates are right here in this one mound? Its sun's rising up over here. Now, consider in the mountains, you got to also consider when you live in something of a valley, or, you know, I'll put it this way, the sun rises late and it sets early. So those are things you got to consider. Always consider your topography and how it works for you. Because I can't give you a blanket thing, but you got to be thinking about where those microclimates are. Sun rises up over this way. Guess what? This side of the mountain is going to get a whole lot more sun than this side of the mountain because it hits the trees and also the mountain, as you can tell right now. So those are things to consider. And everywhere, 360 all the way around this mound, I guarantee you things will grow entirely different. Also situated next to this mound is the love pond down here. It's not a pond yet, but it's a pond in the making, okay? We'll get to that in the future. Let me let this truck pass by. These two in conjunction will create a microclimate of its own, something very, very unique. And then sometimes you're gonna have to play with it and see exactly how it works. I mean, you got people like Sepp Holzer who are doing things with ponds, Hugel culture, and things in the Alps. And look him up and check out his research on that nobody else is doing on the planet, simply because he understands the value of a microclimate. It's important. We're going to walk over to that chicken tractor on steroids and explain how we use microclimates in a very small space. Check it out. All right, y'all, we're going to talk about microclimates, and we briefly talked about it before within this chicken tractor on steroids system. The best compost and chicken producing system on the planet. Go back, check out the playlist on that, folks. We've been screaming it from the rooftop for years now. Okay, in microclimates, what do we have here? Okay, sorry, bird. Every single compost pile you see here, this is the one that's just about finished compost. I mean, look at that. Doesn't that look fantastic? Anyway, this one and that one and that one all generate heat. That's a pretty cool thing to have when, you know, nighttime temperatures are in the 20s. That's pretty doggone cool, because guess what? I can take their water, it never freezes as long as I stick it on top of this warm compost pile, no matter what the ambient temperature is. There's a microclimate. Also, the birds during the day, it's kind of a messed up deal for them, because if it's cold out, you'll see them, they'll go to a town on this pile. Not only are they extracting the protein they need, they're also getting warm in the process. In fact, you'll see my rooster, Persimmon Phil, he'll just kind of post up here, and all the other birds are down there. He's like, I'm just gonna warm up here, ladies. Y'all go to work on the other pile. So that's how it goes. Let me go ahead and get them fed. We got basically today, what's on the menu is a beef heart. Yeah, I don't eat that stuff. A beef heart and also some bread. Let's see how they like it. Okay, another microclimate, y'all. We built this thing a little bit higher than normal, okay? Now, in the past, we have come up with little things, and in the dead of summer, we change things sometimes, depending on how they're situated, depending on whether or not they are in a favorable microclimate. Because this here itself provides, there's a climate above, there's a climate inside, and there's a climate below, okay? When it's hot as the blazes out here, these gals and guy, well, a lot of times will chill underneath this thing. Sometimes you'll see them in here because it has something of a, because of how it's designed and everything, depending on how we're using it, there's always airflow in there. So it's always a little bit cooler. The ambient temperature is cooler in here and even cooler underneath here. Where do you think they chill out? That's a microclimate, y'all. And it's all within the system that they sleep in at night.
You misgendered the rooster.
Oh. Okay, I stand corrected. I definitely misgendered Persimmon Phil, the rooster over there that's getting his grub on. Folks, I could go on and on and on about the microclimate, like even over there where you see the sheep. Those guys are in several microclimates, and guess what? That microclimate can change in the course of a day. Look at an herb spiral. It's designed to employ the best of microclimates. How cool is that, y'all? So as we're getting in the the middle of winter, maybe pushing on in the spring, think about those things. Think about how your sun, put a stick in the ground, put a rock, like one of those Boy Scout tricks where you see where the sun tracks during the day in the dead of winter. Summer's a lot easier depending on where you are in the world. But find out where those climates are and how you can best use them to work as your ally, or they can be some of your worst enemies, depending on how. You want to know this? Think about it. If you put a tree or a group of trees in places that maybe it shouldn't be, you can cause yourself a lifetime of misery having to do things that ordinarily you wouldn't have to do. That's also within a forest. There's 7 layers in that forest for a reason, y'all, because each one does well at different elevations and at different climates and different roots, but also microclimates are what we're talking about today, y'all. I could go on and on and on. This video could honestly, in all actuality, it could be at least a 30-minute video and still not cover half of it. There's so much to consider in here, but it's also not that difficult. Just think about it. All right, y'all, remember, like I said, check out the website. Check us out on Patreon. Till next time, this is Billy from Perma Pastures Farm, where permaculture is my passion. We'll see y'all next time.